Welcome everyone to this 81st Distinguished Lecture Series of Access. We are very privileged to have Professor Pierre Dillenbourg from the EPFL, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne, with us here today. Pierre is Director of the Center for Digital Education and Professor of Learning Technologies at EPFL. So he's leading the whole effort of Moocs at EPFL and the whole change of education being digitized, as we also have an interest in the KTH. So we're very happy to have you here and looking forward to your talk.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. There's been a lot of blah blah and overstatements about MOOCs. MOOCs will solve all the problems of education. MOOCs will provide free knowledge to everybody. MOOCs will destroy universities. Positive and negative, there's been a lot of overstatement. We've been doing MOOCs for 3 years in Lausanne, and I will just show you some data about what we've experienced, and then talk a little bit about the research that we've done around MOOCs. But so Lausanne is on the Lake of Geneva in Switzerland, and you have a K in KTH, you have a king. We used to have no king in Switzerland, so I thought I would start by showing our new king to you. Maybe you know Dario Colonia, the best cross-country skier in the world, and with the Swede a few meters behind him, Richardson. And you would say that's not nice to show such a picture. Well, there is something good about this picture, is that there is no Norwegian there. Okay, so we don't care if it is a Swede or a Swiss, as long as it's not a bloody Norwegian who is winning the road. Okay, so let's talk about MOOCs that we have developed. That's the number of this morning. In 3 years, we had 937,000 participants to our MOOC. We will see later on that this number are not extremely meaningful. Many students disappear after 1 week, but still, when you get close to 1 million students, people listen to you. You know, the Minister of Education doesn't know what is social constructivism or neo-behaviorism, but he knows what 1 million students means. So these numbers, we have to be careful. But still, 100 million people are given the email address and they've chosen a course from EPFL. This is not nothing. Where do they come from? They come from all over the world. Actually, we discussed that over lunch. Not many come from Scandinavia, surprisingly. Interestingly, 125,000 American students or American people have taken a MOOC from EPFL. So when people talk about MOOCs, they always mention, oh, again, it's the American that will shape the evolution of European universities. Here, it's not true. We have also 125,000 people, and among them, 25,000 have taken a MOOC in French. Surprising. Okay, there are people in Quebec who speak French, but there are many French-speaking people who live in the States, but also people who take in French not to learn physics, but to learn French, for instance. So there are a lot of funny things that happen in the MOOC. Things are not under control. We don't decide. Participants decide. So this is something we are not used in academia. We like to define entry condition. We like to define a curriculum because we are serious. We are responsible, so we try to optimize the curriculum for students. Here is the wide world. It's out of control. So we have done 24 MOOCs so far. I don't know if you can read them. Half of them are in French. We are an engineering school, so like you, we have a course from an engineering school, object-oriented programming, fluid dynamics, geomatics, electrotechnique, reactive programming, neuronal dynamics, digital signal processing, and so on. But we have 25 MOOCs in preparation, and 15 have been accepted last week. So we have a portfolio of 65 MOOCs. We go radically for. We did not. Now, some universities have done 2 or 3 MOOCs to have a look. We just go for it. And this is the data from this morning in Stockholm. The red points are the people who dropped. They started, but they did nothing. The green are following the MOOC, and the white are tourists. They watch the videos, but then they don't really participate. They don't upload the assignment and the exercise. So we were wondering why Scandinavia is no much present in a MOOC, while Eastern Europe is extremely present. Maybe because Scandinavia has already a good online education offer, so the people who don't have access to universities, they have already other possibilities in Scandinavia. So we say MOOCs, but actually we should not say, because we talk about very different things. One is, we call them unique selling proposal. We have MOOCs where we have a professor who is the well-known person in his field, and he will make it's at the master level, it's in English, he will make a course, and most of the participants will be from the world. But our own students will take it. I mean, we are paid by the Swiss taxpayer to make course for our students, so we will use it with our own students, but it's available, it's mostly designed for the world. Then we have the other way around, these MOOCs here, the bachelor level, Physics 101, Chemistry 101, Algebra 101, linear programming and so on. They are designed for our own students in French, but they're open to the world. If we do the effort of making a course, why not opening to the world? It costs something to make the video high quality or good quality, but there is a reward for it. And then we have something special, is that we speak French. It's not obvious if you're on campus, but we are a French-speaking university, bachelors in French at least. So we decided to have a special activity in Africa. You know, there will be, by 2020, 600 million French-speaking people in the world. 1 in Switzerland, 5 in Belgium, 4 in Quebec, 50 in France, and the rest in Africa. Okay. And the French-speaking countries in Africa, most of them do not speak English at all. It's a dichotomy. We see in our statistics, French-speaking MOOCs, English-speaking MOOCs, they're not taken in the same African countries. So we have 3 different kind of things. Now I said the 900,000 is a bit exaggerated because we have 3 kinds of participation. So the gray one are people who come to the MOOC and they see a nice MOOC on fluid dynamics, the professor is speaking, or the one on astrophysics, on edX, for instance. The professor is speaking, you have planets behind him, it looks very cool. You enter into the MOOC and you have equations like that. So it's not cool. MOOCs are not cool. Our MOOCs are difficult, like your courses. 5 to 6 hours of work per week. So some of them, they come in gray, and then after 1 week, you say, oh, wow, that's not what I was looking for. And then you have 2 levels of participants. These are ones who decide to be passive, so they watch video. They don't want a certificate, they don't want to succeed, they just want to see the information. And maybe not everything. Maybe some of them told me, well, I watched chapter 5 and 6 because I took this course 10 years ago and I wanted to see what was new. So they use a MOOC a bit like a wiki. They pick what they want, and they're quite happy. And then there are participants who want to do everything and want to get a certificate. That's for the free MOOCs. Some of the MOOCs, you can pay $50. You can have a free certificate, but if you pay $50, you have a verified certificate. So somebody check your ID. And you see that the level of active participants is quite different. So yeah, here, I mean, you pay nothing. You click twice, and you are recorded to a MOOC. So you just have a look and say, not this one, maybe that one. Here, you commit yourself to do a MOOC by paying $49. The same if we see who has passed the MOOC. If you take all participants, we see that the success rate is below 10%. So people say, oh, MOOCs are bad because you have 10% success rate. But if you take into consideration what I said before, you see that actually among those who really try to do the MOOC, so do the exercise, we have, for instance, here in green is people who have at least uploaded 1 assignment. So it means at least the first week they decided to go for it. For instance, almost people are MOOC here, in Scala. The people who have done it have 48% chance to succeed. So it's not really that MOOCs are so bad. MOOCs are so bad. It's that this data mixed people who want to have a look, people who are slightly motivated, and people who are really motivated. Here again, 80% of success for the people who decide to pay $50. So, and this is not an easy MOOC, I can tell you. Here is another way to visualize the relationship between participation and success. Probability of the success is the level of red. Here you have the number of assignments uploaded. Here you have the number of video watches. You see that the slope It's not very steep in that sense, but very steep in that way. So as soon as people start to push assignment, after 6 assignments, they have a high probability of success. So who are our students? The surprise was this, and this was found by all of our colleagues. 1/3 of the students have already a bachelor, 1/3 have already a master. So some people say, hey, Pierre, that's a proof that MOOCs do not work, because MOOCs are knowledge for the world. And here you see that most of the people have already a bachelor or a master, so no, it's not for everybody. Well, first of all, we still have 1/3 of people who, they would not be accepted at EPFL because they are 16 years old, or they are 50 years old, they've never been to university. So still, there is this opening. But it's true that most of our students have a bachelor or a master. Why? Have a look at our MOOC on digital signal processing. This is a tough MOOC. Normal people will never take a MOOC on digital signal processing, This is sticky. I mean, so this is EPFL course. Normal people don't take it. Now, another MOOC, you have MOOCs on the history of the world. MOOCs about how to make pancakes, how to choose a wife, or how to choose a wife that who can make pancakes. These kind of useful MOOCs that speak to everybody, but all MOOCs are very academics, which explain these results. Who are the students again? The blue ones are those who are not students, and the black ones are students. So what we see here is that we do mostly continuing education when we do MOOCs. It was not a decision from us. We have a service in charge of continuing education. We went for MOOCs, and it was a surprise to see that we do mostly continuing training. It depends, of course, from one MOOC to another one. We have some MOOCs like Introduction to, Introduction to Programming in C++. You see that we still have half of the people who are not students. The age, as you see, is around 30. So basically, a typical MOOC participant is a 30-year-old male who has a bachelor and lives in a big city. Bizarre. We'd say, okay, if you live in Spitsbergen, then it's cool to have a MOOC because yes, there is a university in Spitsbergen, but because you are far away from any other university. But actually, not yet. It's still a kind of urban phenomenon. It's true for some person, but if you take massively the statistics, it's still urban phenomenon. Surprisingly, about 20% of the participants are teachers. That was also something we never thought. 20% of the participants to these MOOCs. This is statistics from Harvard and MIT. They put all their MOOCs together. They send a survey to 400,000 people. They receive 30,000 answers, and 33,000 among them were teachers. Some of them were teaching on the topic on which they follow the MOOC, and some of them on another topic. So MOOCs are used a lot for the continuing education of teachers. If you're a biologist and you learn biology 20 years ago, it's not the same biology anymore. If you did mathematics, maybe the evolution is a bit less fast for, for calculus 1, calculus 2. It has not changed a lot, of course. So what do we do with these MOOCs with our own students on campus? Well, the basic idea is a flipped class. The notion of flipped class is you ask students to watch the video at home before. And when they come to the lecture, you do something more interactive with them. You discuss more complex case, hill-defined problems. You do something that because you have time. They got the lecture at home. And so that's really the pedagogical innovation of MOOCs. So here we have two professors, Jean-Philippe Ansermet. He's teaching physics first year. He has 250 students in the class, and the students were completely against MOOC. They said, no, we don't like this. We're going to lose the contact with the professor. So he decided not to flip his class. He gave his lecture, and the MOOCs are available as an addition. And we asked the students, do you think the MOOC was helpful? 92% said yes, as an extra. Do you think that the MOOC should replace the lecture? 91% said no. So they like the, well, of course, doing the flipped class, so having more interactive exercise with 250 students is very difficult. Now Jean-Cédric Chapelier is doing introduction to programming first year as well, but he has a smaller class, so he asked them to watch the video at home, and he did more. He looked at the question in the forum. He looked at the exercise file, sorry, and then we asked. We have this teaching evaluation system, so he received a teaching evaluation of 5.2, which is excellent, and he also checked at the exam. Some of the questions were repeated for a few years ago. There was an improvement. So both solution works well. Okay, this teacher did not flip. This teacher flipped. We don't decide. Teachers do what they want at EPFL. I guess here, you know, they are the captain on their boat, so they have to feel depending what they teach. And physics is not like programming. Programming at some point the teacher has to stop and we have to do it. Physics is a kind more conceptual. So people tell me, Pierre, okay, what is a good MOOC? Can you show us that MOOCs are more effective than lecture? Can you prove that? I say no. I'm sorry, but I cannot prove that. What I can prove is this information. Okay. 35 years of research. I mean, there is no way MOOCs will be better than anything. MOOCs will be like lectures. We have fantastic lecturers. We have lecturers who are not so good, not at EPFL. We fired them, but you know, MOOCs, there will be fantastic MOOCs. You can find online the worst MOOCs. You know, there are MOOCs that are scary. The guy is scary. He looks like in a jail. So what is a good MOOC? A good MOOC is not a MOOC where lectures are fantastic, with fantastic videos, with a Spielberg effect. No, our MOOCs are dry. I mean, we want quality, sound quality, image quality, but no special effects. Okay, what matters is content. So a good MOOC is a MOOC where, besides video, the students will have interesting things to do. You have the videos, but that's only one part of learning. You have quiz and you have weekly assignments. So which kind of weekly assignment can you give them? Okay. Here we have a MOOC on statics. Then they have the a Java applet where they build structure. The exercise is to build structure and to try the forces. Here on the top, on fluid dynamics, there are water tanks in the basement of the school with water, pumps, and webcams, and you can online move the yellow bar, and you will see how the waters flow. So we need to give them things to do. And every professor usually has some simulation, some things like that. This one, introduction to microcontrollers, they buy, this is mostly in Africa, they buy a toolkit, 20 francs, and with an Arduino, and they build a microcontroller, and then it's automatically graded in Lausanne. So we have to find things to ask them to do. Among our experiment, we also tried this. We asked them, why don't you watch MOOCs together? We know that in Coursera, in edX, people make meetup groups. They say, hey, you follow the MOOC on Scala, you live in Stockholm, let's meet at the cafe in front of the train station. And they love that. I mean, students love that because they can pause, they can discuss, especially when they're quiz. You know, these MOOCs are difficult, and it's difficult to do something difficult alone. Running the Stockholm Marathon, you can run it tomorrow morning. At 6 o'clock, you will be alone. You can run as fast as you want. Nobody, you know. No, it's easier to run it at the same time as 20,000 stupid people because we are social animals. When it's difficult, it's easier to do something difficult together. So, but what MOOCs have changed, we were discussing with your vice president, deputy president at lunch. MOOCs have also changed the status of teaching. So we are like you, teaching is important, but compared to research, it's not so important in the culture of EPFL. And now with MOOCs, things have changed. And recently we asked this question to our president. Is it better to have a paper, if you are tenure track, so you are hired, you have 5 years to die or survive at EPFL, is it better to have a paper in Nature or a MOOC with 50,000 participants? What did he reply? He said both, of course. He's a president. That's the role of a president. Always put the bar higher. But he said, if I was a tenure track professor, I would definitely make a MOOC. So it has changed a little bit the status. No, we discuss 5 times more education on campus than before MOOCs. Why? This is stupid. I mean, MOOCs are not all education, but it just makes education more visible. You know, if you give a lecture, like here, if I say, oh no, here there is a camera, not too bad. But if I say something stupid in lecture hall, that's not bad. If I say something stupid and it's online, and I have to control myself a lot, and it's online, then everybody, it will be on YouTube, and there is no way to delete it. So I see the professor, they prepare, usually they've given this course 5 or 6 years at least, but when they do a MOOC, they repeat it 10 times. Before to record, they repeat every lecture 10 times to really master it. So there is this kind of, it changed a little bit the status of teaching. Teaching is not there on my side, my little thing in a closed room. Teaching is publicly visible. And that is changing. This is not a revolution, but this is changing. Now let me show you some examples of research. So I'm in charge of MOOCs, but I'm professor of computer science, so I have my lab. Students do research on different things. Here, this is a typical video from EPFL. We see the hand of the teacher. So when the teacher is writing on a tablet PC, we have another camera on the top, and we film his hand, so we create some presence. Even if sometimes we see the face of the professor, but even when the professor is not on the image, we still is writing. It's not just a pen. And we make the hand semi-transparent, so that you can still read the slide through the hand of the teacher. Okay, Swiss quality. We like to make things well done. Is that useful? Maybe we just waste. This is a script, but maybe still we waste time for that. Does it has an effect on the eyes of the learner? So we ask some of the participants of this MOOC to watch the videos in our lab with eye trackers to see whether they follow the hand of the teacher. So, sorry. So here's the eyes. So the size of the bubble is the duration of the fixation. So that was one person, more or less with the teacher. Now let's take 20. Some of them are with the teacher, some of them are elsewhere. We don't know where, but they are elsewhere. Now with 40.
You've seen in the last slide that function parameters come with their type, and this type is given after the parameter name.
So same thing. Some of them are really following the teacher, most of them, but some of them are looking somewhere else.
Type of a function that follows after the parameter list.
So is that good?
Primitive types are written as in Java, but
is that useful? Am I a better student if I follow the hand of the teacher? Well, if we look at the first gaze, the fact that the gaze jump to the finger of the teacher, there is no correlation with the learning gains, with the score at the exam at the end. Why? Because all eyes are attracted by moving objects. This is Darwin. Okay? People whose eyes were not attracted by moving objects have been eaten by lions, and then when you have been eaten by a lion, it's more difficult to transmit your genes to the next generation. So you know, that's our peripheral vision is very much attracted. That is not cognition; it's just the eye. But the people who stay longer and read, because it takes about 200 milliseconds to read something for eyes to stop. Then the people who stay longer have slightly better, you know, the correlation is not strong, but still, in education, we never got a correlation of 0.8. That's only when you measure twice the same variables. But there is some. So yes, apparently being with me, as the teacher could say, okay, I feel that some students are with me. Sometimes it's an illusion, but sometimes it's correct. Another kind of research, more educational, we give them a pretest before to watch the video. Usually the question comes after the video to check what they know. But here we give them a test before the video. And one text is about neuronal transmission, so it's the same context, but half of the students receive a test as a graphical form, and half of them receive a text as a test as a textual form. And during the video, we see if they look more at the textual elements or at the schema elements. And you see there is an effect. The people who receive a text pre-test look more at the visual elements and vice versa. So it's kind of educational research that may be too tricky. But the point is that when you do a test, you do not only measure what they learned before, but you shape what they will pay attention next. That's the idea. Another question we had is, what about watching video? With the Clickstream, we know everything. How many times they click pause, play, forward, backward, and so on. Can we do something with that? Somebody will make 10 times pause in a video. What does it mean? 10 times pause. I play, I pause, I play, I pause, I play, I pause, I play, I pause. Maybe I'm lost. Maybe I take notes, so I pause to take notes. Maybe I drink a beer, I go to the toilet. I drink a beer, I go to the toilet. We don't know. We're not there. So how can we interpret? That's interesting. So here we had a large course, and we, at the end of each video, we asked them what this video, easy or difficult, 1 to 5. And so this is the average speed change. So how much they increase the speed of the video. You know, on Coursera or edX, you can change the speed of the professor. Students like it. You know, there is a button. So sometimes you are in a lecture room and you got it. You would like to say to the professor, but you don't dare to say, sir. Or sometimes you would say, you can, on these MOOCs, you can change the speed. It starts at 1, it can go to 2 or 2.5, I think. And the average speed is 1.2. So students in general like to watch this video a bit faster. And we see that up to a certain level, those who speed have lower levels of perceived difficulty. Okay. So what is the goal of that? Goal is that we could, if we could detect that the student is in difficulty by the way he plays video, we could at least have an alert to the teacher. Send an alert to the teacher, you know, Pierre, last week, 60% of the students were probably in trouble. Maybe you should do something. Give an extra explanation, or at least ask a question in the forum, but you should do something because you're losing your class. Okay, that was for academia. One thing interesting we discovered over the 3 years, we had a lot of companies who came to visit us and were interested by MOOCs. Well, they believe they're interested by MOOCs. They're interested by things which look more or less like MOOCs. And it's okay. We have employees. So we're going to, like Nestlé, 240,000 employees, SEP, 22,000 employees, and so on. So they're a big company in general where they're interested to train massively the employees. But that's not new. There's been online training in corporation for years. What is new is that they consider having MOOCs for training the sales network. If you are, I don't know, if you are Nokia, you have maybe 10,000 employees, but maybe you have 15,000 salesperson not belonging to you who sells Nokia, and if they don't sell it well, you have problems. And they're very interested by having MOOCs for training customers. And that's interesting, because you might have only a few thousand employees, but thousands of customers. If you train them, we're talking about companies that makes big machines, for instance. If you train them, you increase customer satisfaction and you decrease the number of calls to the help desk, which are very expensive. And that was interesting because these companies came to me, not with the chief learning officer, the guy in charge of training, but with the head of the customer relationship. So that, like I said, MOOCs change the things on campus, but in companies, MOOCs are changing things. So here, it's not only MOOCs for, very often in company, the chief learning officer is some guy who was so bad in the company that they gave him this job, okay? Probably he lost 2 million when he was in the sales, so he became chief learning officer. And so now what we see for these MOOCs is that it's a CEO, not the chief learning officer who comes. And so instead of having MOOCs with a beautiful professor who speaks in front of a book, you know, a bookshelf to look smarter and so on, we have MOOCs with the people working on machines. This is Mr. I will not say it because we are live, from a company called Bühler. They make chocolate machine. They are the world leader in chocolate machine, rice machine, pasta machine. Half of the food produced in the world go through the machines. And Mr. Matzower came to record kind of Mooc for this company, but he's not like a professor. He's a guy, he doesn't want to talk about theory, he wants to talk about the machine that is working. And Mr. Matzower, oh, I said the name, is working on this machine for 25 years. So when he was recording the moves, he was not speaking. He was shouting. Because if you've been working on a machine for 30 years, you don't speak anymore. You shout. But he was convincing. A guy with an MBA would not be convincing. If you are working on a machine and you see a guy with an MBA, you say, this guy has never been working on a machine. So that's interesting. And at the same time, Mr. Matzower, by making this video, was becoming a person more important in the company. So it's not only training, it starts to be management. You can promote people who have a local expertise and ask them to bring the expertise to the rest of the company. So Moocs in some way are a bit changing this. Usually training was a little box in the company where, well, we have to do some of it, but it's not strategic. No, you create horizontal networks in the company. That's, many companies are feeling there is a deeper change. It's not just putting training online. It's actually changing other things in the company, like bringing knowledge from the bottom to the top. No, they told us, yeah, but Moocs are for managers, because Moocs are about theory, about mathematics, about concept, and so we with these people we decide to approach Moocs for every workers in the company, and to introduce physical skills. So here, this is another thing. People working in a company as they call them logistic assistants. Okay, they work in a warehouse and they move boxes. They drive forklifts and they move boxes. And in Switzerland, you know, we have this very, I don't know if you have the same in Sweden. The German-speaking countries, they have this dual system: 4 days per week in a company, 1 day per week at school. It's a system that works extremely well because the school produces the people that the company needs. 3% unemployment in Switzerland. So we went to study what we can do in terms of technology for these people, and the system works well, but there are some bugs. Like when we interview these kids, okay, they are supposed to learn logistics. For instance, the product I sell every day, they are close to the truck's place. So the products that I sell once per month are in the back of the warehouse, these kind of things. But they don't do logistics. The bosses do logistics. And they are slaves. They move boxes as fast as possible. So, and in school, they have to learn logistics. It looks like everything they hate: mathematics, physics, logistics. No, these are not the best students you could imagine. They're kind of the lowest students in the level of abstraction. So how can you teach logistics to people who are really hand workers? And so we made a hand technology. So this is plastic shelf that they put on the table. Maybe I got one here. No, I don't. They put plastic shelf on the table. The system recognizes the tags on the shelf, and then it will build the model of the warehouse that has been constructed by the teenagers and beam information on the top of it. Here is how it looks like. Oh, so sorry. This is here you have the system. So there is a camera here that through 2 mirrors see what is on the table, and there is a beamer that follows the same path and project on the top. It is augmented reality. We will project digital information on physical objects. So here's how it looks like. Here is table. So the professor starts the activity by placing a sheet of paper on the table. Here you see, if you get too close, it means the clerk cannot pass between the shelves to drop a box. Once they are ready, So here is where the trucks leaves, where the trucks arrive. Here we have some feedback on your arrows. And now they can run the simulation and see what's going on in the warehouse. You see the clerk take the boxes and bring them to the shelf. Here you have the average number of seconds to bring a box from the shelf to the truck, so the performance of your warehouse. And we have a complete curriculum on that. How to load the truck. The order of the boxes, which is the inverse order of the customer, but also the center of gravity. The Lewis law. Stock management. Okay. Stops music. So the reason why I show that is that, okay, I started my talk with academic MOOCs, and MOOCs are changing academia. But when you talk to companies, they're extremely interested by this. MOOCs for the top managers, of course, but also MOOC for sharing knowledge about people who usually are excluded from any continuing training. And this includes tangible things. We do also with carpenters, the same kind of environment. And another idea they're interested is MOOCs where the knowledge comes from the bottom. The academic MOOCs, one professor creates a MOOC, or 2-3 professors, and broadcast information. The original MOOCs by George Siemens were more participation MOOCs. Participants bring ID, bring example, and so on. And this looks like a left-wing idea, you know, people will participate and so on. Not in this country, but in Switzerland, this idea that people will participate and build the training is actually all bosses, all CEOs and whatever that I met said, yes. Immediately they feel the potential to bring information back to the center, not only to broadcast, but by having this kind of participation MOOCs to bring information. Let me give an example from academia. Imagine you give a MOOC on geology, and you ask to the students, please go around your house and take some picture of erosion that you can see around your house. So if you have 20,000 students, you ask them to upload 3 pictures. Half of them will be deleted automatically because they are black, or they find it funny to upload porn picture or this kind of thing. So you keep half of it, and you have 30,000 pictures. Cool. Useless. I mean, what do you do if you receive 30,000 pictures? You will say to your wife, maybe no holiday this summer, I'm going to analyze these 30,000 pictures. No. But you have a problem, but you have 20,000 participants. So you can take randomly 2 pictures, you send it to one student. Is it erosion of type A or erosion of type B? Same for the second picture, and which one is the best? You repeat this algorithm for the 30,000 pictures, and you obtain automatically, this is crowdsourcing, 3 stacks of pictures, type A, type B, and unclear. You abandon the unclear, and because you ask them which one is the best, you can extract 1,000 high-quality picture of type A and B. So that's an idea that has been underexploited. I know one MOOC at Delft where they ask on solar panels, they ask people to upload their own, to make the panel and then upload a 1-minute video with what they have done. I mean, there is such a richness over there. It's not only MOOCs are not only to broadcast, but also to collect this information. Here, 1,000 high-quality pictures. And the same for companies. If you send a questionnaire to your participants, if you send a questionnaire to your customers, the return rate will be peanuts. And okay, we are fed up of questionnaire. So here, people spend the time in the solar MOOC from Delft. They spend time building the solar stuff, making the video. So what you receive is high quality. And you know, the management of companies are very interested by this approach where MOOCs is not only broadcasting but collecting. How can you do that? Well, basically, it's a simple flow of activities where for instance, here in this case, in the geology example, the teacher would ask to make a lecture. First lecture, activity 1, R1 at the top, and then the second activity where they go and take picture, and then there will be an operator that automatically send a picture to the people. So we can actually the story that I just told you can be quite simply formalized by a graph of activity, and we call that orchestration graph. The idea is that the current idea of MOOCs is that basically if you have 1 to 10 students, you can do a lot of very intense learning activities. But when the number of students grows, you are condemned to have simpler and simpler activities. And when you have 20,000 students, you are condemned to do lecturing on videos. Okay, so basically you sacrifice the pedagogical richness to gain scale. That's the idea of MOOCs. Scale is kind of filter. There is one exception, is peer grading. The peer grading algorithm that I've used in MOOC. So if I have to grade 20,000 essays every week, what I do is I send them randomly the first 1 to 5 students. I receive 5 grades, and I compute the average. And this grade is actually quite predictive of the learning of the grade given by the teacher. So that's an exception. This is something that scale, and that's high pedagogical quality, because grading the work of somebody is a learning activity. So we can develop script that pedagogical models that encompass very dynamic things. But how much time do I have? No, about 5 minutes? Okay, so I will not maybe we develop some but I will skip that. We will develop some graph theory of that. I prefer to go to the conclusion. But let's say this better, the way to scale up rich pedagogical method can be described formally as an algorithm with operators and activities and so on. And that's the book I will publish next week or so that describe this. But it's, I mean, I would need 20 minutes to explain that, so it's not the point. But I come back to the first part, which is the general use of MOOCs. We don't know where we go. Okay, we decide to go for MOOCs, and we don't know what MOOCs will be in 2 years. Probably the word MOOCs will disappear. Anyway, today what we put in MOOCs, you know, a lot of things very different. So we're not very nervous about this word. There are things that will not come back, that will not be undone. The fact that video is normal, yeah, it's just normal to take a video of whatever we do. The fact that teaching become more public, there will no way to come back. The fact that we lose control, the things are more open. So there are some phenomena that will not disappear. Maybe the MOOC acronym per se will disappear, but our idea is that we don't know exactly where we go, and then we should go. We should not leave others invent the future of education. We should decide ourselves. And it's risky in some way, but we are universities. If universities don't take risks, who should take risks? So some universities decide explicitly not to go for MOOCs. Say, no, this is just a hype. It will disappear. I think it's a mistake. I think not if you have done 1 or 2 MOOCs, but if you go radically for MOOCs, it will deeply transform your university. And we are already digital. It's too late. We are digital. Everything you do, your research, your data, you running, your alimentation, everything is already connected to digital elements. So I strongly recommend KTH to radically go for MOOCs. Thank you very much.